The night unfolded in ways I could never have anticipated. I was sitting on the couch, sipping my tea like any other evening, when my son sent the words that made my heart skip a beat. "I have outgrown my childhood, Mom." I chuckled initially, yet what ensued rendered me utterly at a loss for words. Before we embark on this journey together, may I ask from which city you are joining us this evening? Share your thoughts in the comments below. It brings me immense joy to witness the vast distances our humble tales traverse. Once upon a time, this is how it all began. I am Ava, and I have spent the majority of my life in a serene suburb located just outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. A realm where the grass is trimmed each Sunday, friendly waves are exchanged from cozy porches, and the seasons unfold in a familiar cadence. For 2 decades, my existence has been anchored by a singular truth. My son, Lucas, he has consistently been my steadfast support. After his father departed when he was merely 6, I took it upon myself to raise him alone. The memory of tears and confusion in his eyes lingers from that night, a vivid reminder of the promise I made to myself. He would never feel alone again. Yet, I refrained, not a single time. We forged an unbreakable bond, my son and I, standing united against all that the world could throw at us. Yet, boys do not remain boys for all eternity. They rise to heights beyond your wildest dreams. Their voices grow richer, their gazes become more piercing. In the depths of my heart, I have always envisioned Lucas as that tender little boy who would grasp my hand while crossing the street and find his way into my bed during the roaring thunderstorms. That night, however, everything transformed. It was an unexpected turn of events. There is nothing quite like this. The evening unfolded like any other Thursday, unremarkable and routine. The summer heat enveloped the walls, while the house resonated with the persistent hum of cicadas beyond and the gentle whir of the ceiling fan above, having just completed the task of tidying the kitchen post-dinner. Earlier, Lucas had stopped by, bringing with him a bag of groceries and a bottle of wine, expressing his desire to take the reins in the kitchen for a change. I playfully chided him for his unexpected show of domesticity. "Well, Mom, perhaps I've outgrown my childhood," he remarked with a wry grin. I chuckled, flinging a dish towel casually over my shoulder. "Of course, Chef Lucas. So you've reached adulthood, have you?" He cast an intense gaze my way, devoid of any playfulness. "I am, Mother." I hesitated. There was a certain quality in his words that compelled me to pause. I observed him as he stirred the pasta sauce, his forearms tense, the soft light illuminating his face in ways I had never seen before. A quiet confidence enveloped him, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that had shadowed him just a year prior. Post-dinner, we settled onto the couch in the living room, a well-worn piece that sagged slightly in the center. I tucked my legs beneath me, a cozy throw blanket draped over my lap. He filled our glasses with wine and settled beside me, inching a bit closer than he typically would. Our conversation meandered through a landscape of topics, touching on both the profound and the trivial. Concerning employment. The tomatoes in the backyard were finally reaching their peak of ripeness. On the subtle transformations that occur within individuals, often imperceptible to those around them. A tranquil silence enveloped us, one that felt oddly at ease. The atmosphere was dense, palpable, as if an unvoiced tension had started to permeate the space. At one moment, a memory brought a smile to my face. A 5-year-old boy, entirely enveloped in peanut butter from head to toe, He cast another glance my way, his expression as inscrutable as ever. It was as if he perceived a part of me that I believed had long faded from view. He spoke softly. "You still see me as that child, Mom." I glanced in his direction, a look of confusion crossing my face. "Could you clarify what you mean?" "I mean," he said, placing his glass on the table, "I am not that child. I am a man. I have witnessed a multitude of experiences, experienced emotions, discovered the art of listening, ways to cultivate patience. I have transcended the role of merely being your son. I am another version of myself as well. Someone who perceives you, not merely as a mother, but as Ava." I gazed at him, a slight constriction forming in my throat. Uncertainty clouded my thoughts, leaving me at a loss for words. For an instant, I experienced a vulnerability I hadn't encountered in years, not in a physical sense, but rather on an emotional level, revealed. I found myself at a loss for words, I confessed. "There is no obligation to do so. Simply listen to me." Once more, silence enveloped the space. My hand lay gently on my knee, and I sensed his fingers graze against my own. It unfolded smoothly and without any discomfort. It was soft, nearly resembling an inquiry. "Lucas," I murmured. My heart was pounding now, not from fear, yet from bewilderment. Perhaps a sense of anticipation. For what felt like an eternity, I have endeavored to become the person you required, he confessed. His voice was a whisper, barely rising above the silence. Powerful, reliable, yet now my desire is simply to understand what is essential for you, not in the role of a mother, as an individual of the female gender. I took a deep breath. I never envisioned that we would find ourselves engaged in such a conversation. And yet, it felt strangely right. I delved into the depths of his gaze, contempt, childishness, instinct. Yet, I discovered none of it. What I beheld instead was tranquility, stability, an unspoken connection. We lingered in that moment for what felt like an eternity, alongside one another, the atmosphere thick with a sugary embrace. The porch light danced erratically, casting shadows as the night enveloped everything in its embrace. I require a moment for contemplation. At last I spoke, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I understand," he responded. "I simply wish to convey this to you. I perceive your presence. Indeed, I care." He rose gradually, offered a gentle squeeze to my shoulder, and made his way upstairs to the guest room. I lingered on the couch, my wineglass remaining untouched, as I absorbed the soft creaks of the house settling around me. The echo of his voice resonated long after he had departed. That night, sleep eluded me. How might I? A change had occurred, and I found myself uncertain of the path it would unveil. Yet, I understood beneath the surface that the fragment of my soul I had concealed, the fragment that yearned for recognition and affection, had received his message with clarity. For the first time in years, a sense of solitude lifted from my shoulders. With the dawn breaking, I rose early the following morning. The sun had only just started to weave golden threads through the blinds, illuminating the hardwood floors with a gentle, drowsy warmth that I cherished waking up to during Lucas's childhood. Yet today, there was a distinct shift, as if the morning itself was observing me rather than the reverse. In the quiet of the kitchen, I found myself barefoot, carefully pouring coffee into my beloved chipped mug adorned with delicate faded roses. My hand quivered ever so slightly as it approached my lips. Each subtle sound, The refrigerator's gentle hum, the spoon's soft clink against the sink, seemed to resonate with an intensity that was almost overwhelming. Then I caught the faint sound, the gentle creak of footsteps ascending the stairs. Lucas stood in the doorway, bare-chested, his hair tousled from slumber, absently rubbing the back of his neck, a familiar gesture that betrayed his unease. He appeared more youthful in that moment, and yet, paradoxically, not quite. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning," I responded, making an effort to calm my voice. I found myself at a crossroads, uncertain whether to acknowledge the events of last night or to pretend they had never occurred. He settled into a chair at the table, his gaze fixed intently on me. "Did you manage to get any sleep?" With great reluctance, I confessed. "And you, likewise." A pause lingered between us, dense and vibrating like an electric current. I averted my gaze, preoccupied with retrieving eggs from the fridge, despite the fact that hunger eluded me. "Mom," he said, testing the name Ava. With deliberate slowness, I pivoted. Hearing my name from him resonated with an odd tenderness, a blend of strangeness and warmth that enveloped me. My words from last night hold true. I was not perplexed or toying with your feelings. For quite some time, I've carried these feelings within me, hesitant to impose them upon you. "Weigh me down," I echoed, bewildered. "Lucas, I am your mother. Feel free to share whatever is on your mind, forever." "I know," he said, rising to his feet now. "Yet that is precisely the crux of the matter. You are my mother indeed, yet you are also a woman in your own right, a woman devoted to the care of others throughout her entire life. Father departed. I observed the impact it had on you, and since that moment, it seems as though you've overlooked the fact that you are worthy of so much more." His voice wavered ever so slightly at the conclusion. He approached with measured steps, not too near, merely close enough for me to sense the warmth emanating from him. It held no menace whatsoever. It offered a sense of solace, recognizable in a manner I couldn't quite articulate. "I have no intention of causing you any discomfort," he remarked. "I would never impose upon you. Yet, I find myself unwilling to deceive you any longer. When I gaze upon you, the figure of a mother fades, revealing something more profound. I behold a figure of beauty, strength, and worthiness. I aspire to be a person who contributes to your life, a person who truly perceives you." Words eluded me. I found myself gazing at him, probing for the perfect words, the ideal response. Yet, the rhythm of my heart resonated so powerfully that it drowned out my own musings. I allowed no room for such thoughts, I murmured gently. "Not since then. Indeed, it hasn't been for an extended period." I constantly reminded myself that strength was a necessity, that my time had come to an end. Lucas offered a soft smile. "It has not yet passed, Ava. It has merely been in a state of anticipation." His words awakened a sensation within me that had long lain dormant, untouched for decades. A sudden awareness washed over me as the sunlight caressed my skin, the sensation of my robe slipping slightly too loosely at the collarbone, the warmth that radiates within my chest, not out of shame, but from a realization. We lingered in silence, the air thick with unspoken words. He remained steadfast, not inching any nearer. He allowed the silence to linger, fearless in its presence. Such remarkable patience. I believed that was the very element that set it apart. He was not a young man in search of something fleeting. He was a figure bestowing gifts. As I settled into the kitchen table, a sense of calm enveloped me. My hands trembled, yet I made no effort to conceal it. Lucas positioned himself opposite me, arms crossed, poised in anticipation. I'm at a loss with these emotions, I confessed. It seems akin to traversing a boundary, even if it exists solely within the realm of thought. Then let us take our time, he remarked. Let us simply embrace the moment. Delve into the implications of this concept. I have no desire to take anything from you. I wish to offer. The phrases lingered in my mind, resonating long after they had been uttered. I gazed at him, truly gazed, at the young man I had nurtured, the man he transformed into, the warmth in his eyes, not asking for anything, but instead giving everything. As the day waned, we strolled through the garden. The air was a necessity I craved. The marigolds flourished in vibrant hues, while the hydrangeas sagged gracefully beneath their own abundance. He strolled alongside me, our arms grazing against each other from time to time. Yet, we found ourselves in a silence that lingered between us. At a certain moment, I paused to make an adjustment to the bird feeder suspended from the porch beam. The previous night, it had been set adrift by the gusts of wind. As I extended my arm, his hand rested gently on my lower back, not in a possessive manner, but rather as a steadying presence. "You always do everything alone," he murmured softly behind me. "I suppose I've been compelled to. Perhaps the moment has come when you no longer need to." I pivoted to confront him, the distance between us narrow enough to catch the glimmers of green dancing within his hazel eyes. We remained in that stillness, frozen in time, until a nervous chuckle escaped my lips. I admitted that I felt as though I had been transported back to my teenage years. He beamed broadly. "Excellent. That is the emotion you ought to embrace." As the sun started its descent behind the fence, the sky transformed into a canvas of purples and oranges, and we found ourselves seated on the porch steps, side by side. He extended his hand, deliberately, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. He was undeterred. "I'm not asking you for anything," he murmured. "Simply allow yourself to experience the emotions. That concludes everything." And after what felt like an eternity, I finally did. The days that ensued resembled a surreal journey, not one that prompts doubt about existence, but rather one where every sensation is intensified. The aroma of coffee wafting through the morning air, the gentle whisper of leaves dancing in the breeze, the subtle change in atmosphere as Lucas entered the room. I discovered that my gaze lingered on him increasingly, not in a nurturing manner, but with a sense of wonder, silent reverence. He found himself pondering the moment he had transformed into this version of himself, steady, aware, and remarkably patient for someone of his years. All the while, my thoughts were ensnared in guilt, yearning, and an unarticulated sensation that throbbed beneath my skin like a current of electricity. I found myself unable to confide in anyone regarding the matter. Who could possibly comprehend? What might they express? That I had completely lost my sanity. The sorrow had warped my understanding of morality. Yet, it was not sorrow. It was not confusion. It was not even abrupt. A gradual awareness dawned upon me, revealing the countless years I had devoted to relinquishing pieces of myself. Little remained for me. In some inexplicable way, Lucas perceived that, not with sympathy, but with tenderness. As twilight descended, I found myself at my vanity, gently untangling my hair in preparation for the night ahead. The house was enveloped in a stillness, a profound silence that seeped deep into one's very essence. Lucas had just emerged from the shower, and I could hear the soft cadence of his footsteps echoing through the hallway. Then came a knock, soft and reverent. "Come in," I said, anticipating a straightforward question, perhaps about the location of the towels. He entered, his damp hair curling gently at the edges, clad in nothing but a simple white t-shirt and lounge pants. In that fleeting instant, he appeared effortlessly authentic, strikingly familiar, and yet intriguingly transformed. His gaze held a gentle warmth, not uncertainty, but consideration. "I wanted to talk," he said, moving deliberately toward the armchair by the window. "What is it about? Who are we?" The words fell softly, creating ripples in the calm surface of the pond. Not a splash, merely ripple after ripple that wove through the stillness. I placed my brush gently on the vanity and turned to meet his gaze. "Lucas, I find this quite peculiar still. I find myself uncertain of my position." "You needn't stand at all," he said softly. "My deepest desire is to be by your side, to feel your presence close to me. If this is all it ever amounts to, just this, conversations under the stars, sharing the warmth of proximity, I find contentment in that." He was not imposing any pressure on me. He had no intention of persuading me. That was the very thing that rendered resistance all the more challenging. For he was not inviting me to venture into an uneasy realm. He was merely unfastening a portal, one that I had the option to traverse or not. I rose gradually and made my way to the window next to him. The moon lingered low in the sky, draping the room in a soft, silvery light. His presence beside me was palpable, a silent invitation to share my thoughts whenever I chose to do so. The stillness enveloped me in a way I had never realized I craved, a tranquility that neither demanded explanations nor cluttered the air with sound. There were moments, I remarked, when I would go for weeks without the simple comfort of another's touch, be it a hand resting on my shoulder or the warmth of a hug. He gazed at me, a flicker of melancholy lurking in his eyes. I was completely unaware of that. I had hoped you wouldn't. "Once you were merely a boy. Your desires were uniquely yours. I wish to spare you from any weighty concerns." "Ava," he uttered, that name once more cascading from his lips as if it were a cherished secret. "I have outgrown my boyhood." Our gazes locked. A shift enveloped the space that separated us. And then I embarked on an action I hadn't taken in quite some time. I extended my hand toward him, my hand gently poised upon his shoulder. Yet, it seemed as though something vast loomed large. His hand rose to meet mine, fingers gliding along the back, slow, warm, and filled with reverence. "I'm at a loss on how to proceed," I confessed. "You needn't," you responded. "We can simply remain here, in this moment." And so we did. I shifted to take a seat beside him in the armchair. It was cozy, yet we found it quite agreeable. His arm slipped around my shoulders, hesitant initially, but soon grew more assured. My head leaned against him, and I released a breath I hadn't even known I was holding. There existed a serene atmosphere, devoid of haste or urgency. Only a gentle embrace of warmth and connection. A subtle awareness that transformation was unfolding, not in a rush, not with great fanfare, but softly and gradually. That evening, I chose not to retreat to my bedroom. As I drifted into slumber, nestled beneath his arm, the gentle glow of the moonlight streamed through the window, and the soothing rhythm of his heartbeat whispered softly against my ear. For the first time in decades, I experienced a sense of being embraced, not merely in a physical sense, but on an emotional level as well. I stirred from slumber just before the first light of dawn, yet I remained still for a moment longer. I remained there, inhaling deeply, allowing the tranquility to envelop me. Lucas shifted next to me, his eyelids fluttering open with a languid grace. "Is everything all right with you?" he inquired, his voice thick with the remnants of slumber. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I found myself whispering, "I think I am. I believe I truly am." The morning light poured into the living room, casting gentle amber rays that filtered through the curtains, as if it were aware that a change had taken place. Initially, I remained still. I reclined beside Lucas, enveloped by the melodies of birdsong drifting through the open window and the soothing rhythm of his tranquil, steady breaths. For years, my existence had been centered on duties and obligations, lists for the grocery store, invoices. As the clock ticked into the late hours, I found myself folding laundry, the familiar hum of old reruns providing a comforting backdrop to the quiet solitude of the night. In the stillness of that instant, it dawned on me how long I had merely existed rather than truly embraced life. Lucas shifted in his slumber next to me. His eyes fluttered open, locking onto mine with a drowsy smile that felt so authentic it sent a pang through my heart. "Good morning," he whispered, his voice gravelly from slumber. "Good morning," I replied, my voice softer, tinged with uncertainty. We lingered there for a few moments more, frozen in place, as if leaving that spot would unravel all that had blossomed in the past few days. Eventually, I propped myself up, stretching my limbs and releasing a deep sigh. He clarified that he wasn't referring to anything overly dramatic. "I simply intend to convey, the path ahead awaits our exploration. The implications of this for you, for the two of us." I nodded slowly, recognizing the thoughtful manner in which he addressed it, neither as a command nor a mere whim, but with genuine consideration. I confessed that I am still in the process of unraveling that mystery. I never anticipated this turn of events. At times, it continues to evoke a sense of strangeness, as if I am suspended in time, anticipating the sensation of being in the wrong. He moved in closer, maintaining a respectful distance, yet his presence enveloped me, akin to a comforting blanket draping over my shoulders. "Yet do you sense a misstep?" he inquired gently. "No," I replied. "That is the crux of the matter. I do not. I simply sense prudent, a touch apprehensive, yet not incorrect." He offered a subtle smile. "That is precisely what we require at this moment." Following our morning meal, we embarked on a leisurely stroll. The summer air was starting to warm, yet beneath the sprawling branches of the grand elm trees, a sense of comfort prevailed. We shared a silence, moving together in tandem, our hands grazing lightly now and then. There was an undeniable sense of healing in the way we moved together, a rhythm that spoke to the soul, stillness, anchored. That afternoon, he assisted me in arranging the garage. For months, it lingered on my to-do list, a task I continually deferred. We shifted through old boxes, chuckled over forgotten treasures, and by the time we settled in for a late lunch, I felt unburdened, not only in the physical space surrounding me, but within myself as well. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we gathered once more on the back porch. 2 glasses of wine sit between us, while the distant hum of crickets weaves through the stillness. The atmosphere was hushed, reverent, and imbued with a sense of the sacred. We took our time, allowing the connection to deepen before venturing into anything physical. This was not the essence of the matter. It revolved around the concept of permission, to be acknowledged, to be embraced gently, to be cherished not merely for my contributions, but for the essence of who I continue to be. We drifted into slumber, entwined softly in one another's embrace, the whispers of the night serenading us from afar. For the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I no longer felt like a mere afterthought in someone else's narrative. A sense of a fresh start enveloped me,